Undisputed junior middleweight champion Charlo was supposed to defend his undisputed title for the first time this coming January 28th against Tszyu. But it has been recently reported that the fight will be postponed due to Charlo suffering an injury in training. Apparently he has broken his hand in 2 places. The thing about injuries in boxing is you never know when they can raise their head. This is why fighters need to really stay focused and remain vigilant when they take their careers seriously and opt to face the best opposition they can, and to optimize while they are at their best in the sport of boxing. So we'll wait to see what happens after Charlo is on the mend. But in the meantime, what about Tszyu? Let's talk about it a little bit more. Admittedly, this was an event I was really looking forward to at the first of the year. When you talk about Mel Charlo and what he brings to the sport of boxing, he brings a business-like acumen and focus and dedication that a lot of his contemporaries could learn from. Even contemporaries such as the proposed opponent for this promotion, Tszyu. The thing that really is disheartening is because everyone knows that Charlo is always going to bring it. He automatically brings a certain amount of intensity and focus to every bout. But Tszyu has stated he's waited. It's his time. Though he has had step-aside opportunity when the unification match between Charlo and Castaño was going on, he says that he's the next man up. To a certain degree, I do believe he's the next man up, but just the next man up to be put down. Yeah, because Tszyu, who's really living off of his dad's name, is not really the type of fighter that will take the titles away from Charlo. Not even close. He has something about himself that is tainted with a bit of arrogance, because people can recall when he faced Terrell Gausha earlier this year in March. He had a rough go early on as Gausha had him down in the first round. He likes to consider it a flash knockdown. But that was no flash, unless you want to talk about the lights that he saw when the shot connected. Yes, he was criticized in that performance against Goucher. But Tim Tszyu forgot something. He forgot that maybe his focus needs to go in a different place. Because when you're talking about getting in there with a fighter like Mel Charlo, this is a long reigning champion who is now undisputed and considered the best at junior middleweight. And it doesn't look like he is ready to relinquish that title anytime soon. What I saw in the match against Goucher for Tszyu was trouble. I saw holes in his defense. I saw holes in his ability, because Goucher was good enough to give Tszyu just enough problems. After the knockdown, he seemingly stopped punching. He stopped working at trying to get Tszyu out of there. And the funny thing is like maybe he was only brought along for the dance. You know, in his performance against Takashi Inoue, again, Tszyu, he performed, but in a 12-round fight, he looked pedestrian. And that fight was in his backyard. Yes, he had wide scores, 120 to 107, 119 to 108, 120 to 107. But the fight was in Sydney, his backyard. The fight against Goucher was in Minneapolis. And the scores read 114 to 113, 116 to 111, 115 to 112. No one would ever bother to confuse Terrell Goucher with Mel Charlo. We remember what happened when Charlo ran across some difficulty earlier in his career against Tony Harrison. After being made to wait over a year for the rematch, he stopped Harrison. Just a moment to take out and look at this image from that fight, which shows Charlo nearly decapitating Harrison with this particular shot. Think about it. That 11th round KO was the stuff of a real champion. That's the thing. Charlo carries his power from first to last rounds. He never stops looking to batter his opponent. Goucher let up on Tim Tszyu, and that's not going to happen whenever he does get in the ring with Mel, because Mel believes in going for it. And you have to think about it like this. He's been a little bit laid back in his approach, even in his commentary of talking about Charlo and his reign. Charlo is one of the most serious fighters you have to consider as a champion in the sport of boxing. This man is no light touch. None whatsoever. In the 90s, we had guys like Julian Jackson and Terry Norris, even Vincent Petway, all pretty darn good champions at junior middleweight. But none of them had the focus that Charlo has, who has now turned into a complete boxer and puncher in boxing. I've talked about he beating people up with every punch that you could pretty much throw in the sport. He has knocked people out with jabs, hooks, rights and lefts, uppercuts. He has knocked people out in the first round, and you just heard me speaking of Harrison being stopped in the 11th. There will be no rest for Tim Tszyu. Only a wake-up call, because he's going to sleep whenever they do face off. And I do want to see this fight, people, because guys who often ask over and over again for their shot usually tank out. Remember Dillian White, 600 days waiting, huh? And when he got in there against Fury, what did he do? I didn't know that lichens could lay eggs, but he did, huh? Yeah. So it looks like Tszyu may have to take an interim fight. Tony Harrison was one of the first to step up and say, hey, I'll fill in. And Harrison by no means is a cakewalk within himself. A tremendous boxer, and in his last outing, he reminded us how a dedicated, educated jab can work for a veteran fighter. Do you think that Tszyu is ready for all of this? It's time to step up and put up, or shut up. What do you think? I'm thinking that when you talk about a fighter like Mel Charlo, as he's been known to say, keep running your mouth, huh? Because he can close it for you, if not completely where they have to wire it. Yeah. Think about it. Here's hoping for a speedy recovery for Mel Charlo, because he's been out of the ring a minute and we want to see him back as soon as he can get back. A tremendous champion. Despite what people think of him outside of the ring and everything, my focus is on him as an undisputed championship fighter. That's what your focus needs to be as well. When you think about these guys out here today, there are not many of them that can really perform as he does and get the results that he gets. So let's salute the brother and pray for a speedy recovery so he can get back down to business. Yeah. This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about Charlo and his comeback from being injured, a broken hand. What do you want to see from Tim Tszyu? Who would you like to see fill that gap? I can guarantee you that they're not going to take on anyone too tough, because they still want to make it to that fight for the undisputed title. But if he's all that, if he's as good as he thinks he is, and his dad thinks he is, then take on any comers. The title will still be there, but will you, Tim Tszyu? Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.